Allow me to start my homily with a story. A small private plane was flying with the three passengers on board: an old priest, a rich businessman, and a Boy Scout. Suddenly, the engine sputtered and stopped altogether. They all rushed to get their parachutes. They were horrified to realize that there were not enough parachutes for all of them. One of them will be left without one. The pilot took one, saying, "I have a wife and two kids. They need me," and off he jumped. The businessman, seeing that the boy was holding a parachute, grabbed it away from him, saying, "I am a very important person in this world. I must not die." And putting the straps on his shoulders, he quickly jumped out of the plane. Only the priest and the boy were left on the plane. So the priest told the boy, "Son, take the last parachute. I am old and I have no family. I am ready to leave this world. You are still young and have a great future. Save your life." The boy, with naughty smile, said, "Don't worry, father. There are still two parachutes left. The very important man in the world just jumped out wearing my backpack." Keep your eye on the ball. A very popular idiom, right? Popular advice of coaches to their athletes. Do not be distracted. Stay focused. And it also not just for athletes. It also tells about us journeying on earth with our faith. Do not be distracted. Stay focused on Jesus. If you want to succeed, reach your dream, you have to stay focused, not wasting time and effort to non-essential things. Let me give you an example as this holiday season is coming. When you go to the mall and you think that you just need to buy a shirt, right? You go there and then buy your shirt. And then along the way, you'll find a lot of sales, right? And you ended up with so many things aside. Oh, that pants looks good. Oh, that shoes also fits well. You end up with a lot of things. So, unnecessary expenses. Keep your eye on the ball. So, husbands and wives, remind each other, right? Keep your eye on the ball. Tonight begins the 4-week season of Advent. It's a time to prepare, to wait and anticipate the coming of the Lord, His second coming, and of course, as we celebrate the birth of Jesus. Advent is telling us, keep your eye on the ball. Stay focused, do not be distracted. Even though the readings for today is actually dreadful, scary, with all the signs around us. But should it not take away our focus? Because if not, we can be easily distracted by the darkness, the disorder and chaos that will happen. And then we will not hear the second part of the gospel that says, when these things happen comes, stand erect, head up, because your salvation is coming. So let us focus on the coming of Jesus, not on the chaos. Be vigilant means stay focused and keep your eye on the ball. Advent is one of the busiest seasons of the year. What is truly important in your life, you have to prioritize. The Mother Church is so wise that in this busiest time of the year, she is wanting us to be vigilant, not just passively waiting, but actively waiting, wanting, and working, so that we will not be carried away easily by commercialism and materialism, or be saddened by the chaos and tragedy happening around us. You know, the second reading, St. Paul was encouraging the people in Thessalonica who's been persecuted. And I think this is also happening nowadays. You know, last November 20, Pope Francis had his usual Wednesday audience in the Vatican. It was actually one day after the 1000th day of the war in Ukraine. Toward the end of the audience, he said, "This event should not dissuade us from standing alongside the martyred Ukrainian people and working for peace, so that weapons might give way to dialogue and combat to encounter." Pope Francis noted that 2 days earlier, he had received a letter from a Ukrainian university student on the subject of the 1000th day anniversary. And I think this is very powerful, just like St. Paul, encouraging us. He read aloud the letter that says, "Father, when on Wednesday you remembered my country and are able to speak to the whole world on the 1000th day of this terrible war, I ask you not to speak only of our suffering, but also our faith. Although it is imperfect, that does not diminish its value, because it paints with painful strokes a portrait of the resurrected Christ. There had been too many deaths in my life recently. It is difficult to live in a city where a missile kills and wounds dozens of civilians, and you are witness to so many tears. I would have liked to flee, would have liked to go back to being a child in my mother's arms, would have liked to remain in silence and in love, but I thank God, because through this pain, I am learning greater love. Pain is not only a road to anger and despair. If based on faith, it is a good teacher of love. Father, if pains makes you suffer, it means that you love. And so, when you speak of our pain, when you remember our 1000 days of suffering, speak of our 1000 days of love too, because only love, faith, and hope give a real meaning to our wounds." Very inspiring and challenging also. What are we complaining about, right? What is our faith tells us amidst all these things passing? The young man keeps his eye on the ball. His focus not on the suffering, death, and chaos of war, but on the love that springs forth from pain and suffering. And so the call for this Advent season is for us to have the same eye during this season of Advent. Because it's not just time for waiting, but active participation for Christmas, for passing of things, and even for our own death. Readings today are not spoilers, but are reminders. They remind us that everything is passing, and so let us look up to Jesus. He is not just the knapsack, He is the parachute of our salvation. And so if we remain faithful and obedient to Him, we are assured of eternal happiness and glory. So let us keep our eye on the ball. Amen.